What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and I'm your favorite blind film critic. Yeah, that's right, blind. And I just watched Godzilla Minus One. It's on Netflix now. It's actually everywhere. And unfortunately, nobody thought about blind people when making this film and created audio description for the film, because this film has no available audio description. It did not have it when it was in theaters, and it does not have it anywhere else. And no one will go about their day and create audio description for this film. I went ahead and reviewed it because I've already been here, had this experience. I had it with RRR. Everybody was talking about it, and Netflix had it, and no amount of lobbying was going to get them to put audio description on RRR. It took them a while just to get an English dub on RRR. So, at least Godzilla Minus One debuted with an English dub, so I was able to watch the film to be able to comment on it. Something, to have some thought. So I didn't have to like Duolingo my way through Japanese super fast. But, you know, it's just disappointing and disrespectful. This film made way too much money at the box office for people to be like, oh, yeah, it's only like a couple thousand, guys, to make like an audio description track. It's really not that much. It's based on how long the movie is, you know, and then like some varying factors into like quality. And here probably you would want to make sure that you do good quality. Like just like with the dubbed actors, they have different actors playing different roles instead of like one guy, like Shogun, you know, the show that's gonna win an Emmy for best drama this year. There's like one guy doing the narration because FX was just being cheap. So yeah, this is out there, and I gotta give a shout out to my friend Alex Howard, who won't watch a film if it doesn't have audio description. We have like two completely different sort of trains of thoughts. He does the Darkroom podcast, and he and Lee Pugsley, and I've had them on my channel, and we've talked about audio description, and so he's waiting, and he's gonna be waiting a while. Because I don't have faith. And I want to talk about this film and why it needs audio description. And that's why I do this. That's why I go ahead and watch a film and sit through a film, is because I feel like by Netflix not offering audio description, that they're telling me, no, this is fine. You'll be fine. You can watch audio description. Okay, great. I can watch without audio description. Great. Cool. Let's see what your choice is to not offer me accessibility. And the same can be said for any, this just happens to be on Netflix. Same can be said for anybody. I mean, to be fair, I should be calling out all of the VOD services, Apple, Prime, Fandango at Home, all of you guys that are not offering audio description for this. So, yeah, get your shit together, because accessibility is important. And if the rules were reversed, you would understand it. But because we can't reverse the rules for you, I can't just walk up to everybody and poke their eyes out, because that's rude. I just have to keep talking about why it matters. So here's Godzilla Minus One from the perspective of a blind person. The film appears to follow a kamikaze pilot who somehow survives back in World War II. And I don't really know. You know, there's no visuals for this, but he's alive. So, and he is the protagonist of this film. So he's dealing obviously with that, and there's a little bit of suggestion of guilt, plus also, you know, like feeling blessed of still being here type of thing. And they explore that. He goes back to his village, and some lady like yells at him about shame. He's brought shame to the village because he didn't die as a kamikaze pilot. Anyway, people are weird. So instead of like welcoming them back and being like, oh my god, it's so amazing to see you again, they're like, no, why aren't you dead? This is so bizarre. So he sort of goes through the film and meets random characters, but in the background there's also this Godzilla character. Well, not a character, it's Godzilla. Pops up. Of course, because, we were playing around with nukes over in Japan at this time. So why wouldn't this awaken Godzilla? And he attacks and is terrifying from everything I've heard from all the sighted people. He's terrifying. I've heard some people who are like, I was genuinely terrified. It's like, really? Wow. When I walked into this film, I was like, he's barely in this film. Like, this film is the answer to all of the shitty English movies that we've been making, English language Godzilla movies, where we keep creating characters that nobody cares about, but then, like, our monster action is cool. And this film is, like, the opposite of that. This film has, like, amazing characters, and there's very little Godzilla. So, I'm not gonna say he's not in it, but it feels very much like -1. With the -1 is Godzilla. So, you basically follow this pilot as he goes around and interacts with people, and everybody has different feelings. And there are Godzilla attacks, like, throughout the film. Like, if the film gets, like, too it ponders too much on, like, the thought of what it means to be a surviving kamikaze pilot, and what it means to have a new sort of look on life, Godzilla attacks, and then they have to, like, run for their lives. So, and then there's a main attack, and they think that they have a way of killing Godzilla, which obviously they don't, because nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. Nobody ever knows how to do this. But it involves a very special way, and they need a very special person to do it. And, but I don't want to ruin the end of the film. So, yeah, that's loosely the plot of Godzilla -1 from what I'm able to pick up without audio description. Some of the problems that I have with the film, there's a character that he runs into that is clearly voiced by an adult, who I guess was a little girl, because he finds a baby, and he's trying to, like, protect this baby, and he also interacts with this child. And then somebody makes, like, a comment about, like, because the child was female, like, why didn't you leave the baby with the girl? And he's like, well, because she's a child and she can't take care of a baby. And there was even talk about, like, whether or not that child could breastfeed. And he's like, no, because she's a child, So, like, there was, like, through the dialogue, I picked up on the fact that this girl was young. I just didn't know, like, how young. And from the conversation, I didn't pick that up. Like, their initial conversation together, it was not something where I was like, oh, definitively I know that you are this age. Because they didn't hire, like, a child voice actress, and honestly, the ad actress was not that good at sounding like a child. So if she was trying to do a little kid voice, wasn't happening, so I don't really know what the intended age of that kid is. But it did sort of make for, like, an awkward exchange afterwards, because I don't like it, when you're talking about this kind of stuff, it's like, what does one person consider a child and another person doesn't? Because you could look like a 16, 17-year-old, and somebody will be like, oh, that's a child. Or she could have been 8. I mean, like, there's such, like, a wide range in that character. It's just, like, one thing. When there's another guy that's, like, injured in the film, and I have no idea how he's injured or whatever, but he's, like, the voice actor is, like, really playing it up. He's like, if you could only go through this. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? So, it's just, like, moments like that where I need questions answered, and there's nobody to answer them. It's like, customer service is closed. There's nobody there. So I don't know what's happening in some of these scenes. And of course, Godzilla, I have no idea what he looks like, where he's attacking. Did he step on somebody? Did he blow something up? Did he eat somebody? Nothing. I have nothing. And every time Godzilla comes into this film, it's like, well, we're going to stop for a minute. And there's just going to be, like, lots of noise. And people running for their lives. And I'm going to have no idea what's going on. Luckily, he's not in this that much. Like I said, this is not a heavy Godzilla movie. There are films that are totally based around Godzilla, and he's, like, in, like, the majority of the film. I would say he's in less than the majority of the film. So he's in less than half of the film. if you're considering the majority to be 50%. He would be in less than 50% of the film. So it is a lot of dialogue back and forth and people talking about various things and the war and loss and grief and why didn't you die, stuff like that. But yeah, I have no fucking clue what this Godzilla's doing or what he looks like or anything about his character design or why he looks so terrifying or what makes him terrifying. He's just like a Godzilla. It's like you hear him, it's like, and you're like, oh, Godzilla's on his period again. So yeah, I have very little respect for this movie because it has very little respect for me. So I really don't care if you found that, if you find this offensive. I'm already offended that it exists, that we're going to continue to perpetuate the idea that this film does not need accessibility. I feel like when films pass a certain threshold, and same thing with TV shows, if you have a show that has proliferated, somebody needs to pony up and bring money, and it shouldn't be this thing. Like this and our Academy Award-winning animated feature should have audio description on them. I'm sorry, they just should. Like, we went far enough on them. They should have audio description. So, they did, this did far more than expected at the box office for a Japanese Godzilla movie. And became the first one to win an Oscar. Why doesn't it have audio description? Like, why is this a thing? Are we still suggesting this movie did not make enough money? Because if it made this much money here, think about how much movie it made in Japan. Where these movies actually, the whole reason these movies are created. Like, we're just getting like the downstream, like we talk about a lot about domestic box office for films here. And there are certain films that feel very like, well, this is American, right? So, this is not going to translate overseas. It happens a lot with comedies. Like, you look at the Hangover series and you're like, well, how does that translate overseas? So the fact that it makes any money at all is amazing. So when you find out that it's made even like an extra $100 million from like international territories, you're like, wow, that feels really good for a film that probably doesn't translate very well to other places. So like some films are made with sort of like an international view to them. Other movies are not. And Americans just are not that accepting of foreign language things that are not Squid Game. So, but because we're starting to be, because of the way that we consume our content now through streaming services, and we're starting to see more and more international content being thrown our way, you're starting to see more and more of an audience for it. And as this becomes more and more profitable for people, these films need audio description. You can't just keep using international as the scapegoat for not offering accessibility. So RRR should have had it. They should have had it. The Boy and the Heron should have it. Like, these are films that should have it. I'm not picking like randomly obscure films that no one's ever heard of. When Netflix runs Roma for Best Picture and it gets a Best Picture nomination, that should have triggered audio description. For some reason, it didn't. And Netflix should answer for that. So I'm just fucking tired of it. So my grade for Godzilla -1 is unwatchable, because it is. Because the main character, Godzilla, the title character anyway, I have no idea what he's doing. I have no idea what he's... I don't know. It's just... He's a non-verbal character that just... I think there's a movie here, and I think there are very talented people who dubbed in the voice cast, and I think this would have been a very entertaining experience if somebody just paid for some damn accessibility. But because people are too fucking lazy to do that, my grade is unwatchable. Fuck you. Have a good day. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.